This is just one of many options. I used to take voice lessons from a great teacher named Warren Senders. For each lesson, I'd bring in one song I was trying to improve. First, I'd sing it for him as written. Then he'd say, "Okay, now do it up an octave." I'd say, up an octave? I can't sing that high. He'd say, "I don't care, do it anyway. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd sing the whole song again in this screeching, squeaking falsetto, sounding like a little undead cartoon mouse. But by the second half of the song, it was almost charming. Then he'd say, "Okay, now do it down an octave." I'd say, "Down an octave? But I don't think I can." He'd say, "Doesn't matter. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I sounded like a garbage disposal or a lawnmower, but he made me sing the whole song that way. Then he'd make me sing it twice as fast, then twice as slow, then like Bob Dylan, then like Tom Waits. Then he'd tell me to sing it like it's 4 a.m. and a friend just woke me up. And then he'd give me many other scenarios. After all of this, he'd say, "Now, how did that song go again?" It was the clearest proof that what I thought was the way the song went was really just one of an infinite number of options. I'm taking an entrepreneurship class now. I've never actually studied business before. We analyzed a business plan for a mail-order pantyhose company. Like all business plans, it proposed only one plan. After reading the whole thing, I felt like saying things that my old voice teacher would have said. "Okay, make a plan that requires only $1,000. Go! Now make a plan for 10 times as many customers. Go! Now do it without a website. Go! Now make all your initial assumptions wrong and have it work anyway. Go! Now show how you would franchise it. Go!" You can't pretend there's only one way to do it. Your first idea is just one of many options. No business goes as planned, so make 10 radically different plans. Same thing with your current path in life. Now you're living in New York City, obsessed with success. Go! Now you're a free spirit, backpacking around Thailand. Go! Now you're a confident extrovert and everyone loves you. Go! Now you're married and your kids are your life. Go! Now you spend a few years in relative seclusion, reading and walking. Go! You don't need a plan or a vision. Do you have a big visionary master plan for how the world will work in 20 years? Do you have massive ambitions to revolutionize your industry? Don't feel bad if you don't. I never did. A year and a half after starting CD Baby, it was just me and John, my first employee, running it out of my house. One night, I decided I should think more about the long-term future of this thing. I sat with my diary for a few hours of introspection. Afterwards, I wrote John an email that went like this. "I think there's a chance that this thing might be huge one day, so we'd better start preparing for that now. I mean, someday, we might have 1,000 artists on CD Baby. We might need a third employee. That would mean we'd need 3 computers here in the office, which would mean we'd need to figure out how to network them together. We might even need to start moving CDs into the garage, since eventually they might fill up the living room. Yes, I know it sounds grandiose, but I think things are headed that way." Years later, after I had 100,000 artists and 85 employees, John would often get a good laugh out of this letter I sent him in 1999. Journalists would ask, "What's your long-term goal for CD Baby?" I'd say, "I don't have one. I surpassed my goals long ago. I'm just trying to help musicians with whatever they need today." So please don't think you need a huge vision. Just stay focused on helping people today. I miss the mob. I was in Las Vegas for a conference, taking a taxi from the airport to the hotel. I asked the driver, "How long have you lived here?" He said, 27 years. I said, "Wow, a lot has changed since then, huh?" "Yeah, I miss the mob." "Huh? Really? What do you mean?" "When the mafia ran this town, it was fun. There were only 2 numbers that mattered, how much was coming in and how much was going out. As long as there was more in than out, everyone was happy. But then the whole town was bought up by these damn corporations full of MBA weasels micromanaging, trying to maximize the profit from every square foot of floor space. Now the place that used to put ketchup on my hot dog tells me it'll be an extra 25 cents for ketchup. Sucked all the fun out of this town. Yeah, I miss the mob." Okay, sure, we could bring up other issues with the mob, but let's just leave it as a metaphor and a lesson. I told this story a lot at CD Baby. Sometimes MBA types would ask me, "What's your growth rate? What's your retained earnings rate as a percentage of gross? What are your projections?" I'd say, I have no idea. I don't even know what some of that means. I started this as a hobby to help my friends, and that's the only reason it exists. There's money in the bank, and I'm doing fine, so no worries. They'd tell me that if I analyzed the business better, I could maximize profitability. Then I'd tell them about the taxi driver in Vegas. Never forget why you're doing what you're doing. Are you helping people? Are they happy? Are you happy? Are you profitable? Isn't that enough? How do you grade yourself? In New York City, there are dozens of buildings that say Trump on them. As I was driving about an hour into the rural countryside, I even saw a Donald J. Trump park. It made me wonder if he grades himself by how many valuable properties bear his name. Plenty of real estate tycoons have made billions without putting their names on everything, but maybe that's his measure. We all grade ourselves by different measures. For some people, it's as simple as how much money they make. When their net worth is going up, they know they're doing well. For others, it's how much money they give. For some people, it's how many people's lives they can influence for the better. For others, it's how deeply they can influence just a few people's lives. For me, it's how many useful things I create, whether songs, companies, articles, websites, or anything else. If I create something that's not useful to others, it doesn't count. But I'm also not interested in doing something useful unless it needs my creative input. How do you grade yourself? It's important to know in advance to make sure you're staying focused on what's honestly important to you instead of doing what others think you should. Care about your customers more than about yourself. At a conference in Los Angeles, someone in the audience asked me, "Hey, what if every musician just set up their own store on their own website? Since that'd be the death of CD Baby, how do you plan to stop that?" I said, honestly, I don't care about CD Baby. I only care about the musicians. If someday musicians don't need CD Baby anymore, that's great. I'll just shut it down and get back to making music. He was shocked. He had never heard a business owner say he didn't care about the survival of his company. To me, it was just common sense. Of course you should care about your customers more than about yourself. Isn't that rule number one of providing a good service? It's all about them, not about you. But even well-meaning companies accidentally get trapped in survival mode. A business is started to solve a problem, but if the problem was truly solved, that business would no longer be needed. So the business accidentally or unconsciously keeps the problem around so that they can keep solving it for a fee. I don't want to pick on anyone's favorite pharmaceutical company or online productivity subscription tools, so let's just say that any business that's in business to sell you a cure is motivated not to focus on prevention. It's kind of like the grand tales in which the hero needs to be prepared to die to save the day. Your company should be willing to die for your customers. That's the Tao of business. Care about your customers more than about yourself, and you'll do well. Like you don't need the money. Banks love to lend money to those who don't need it. Record labels love to sign musicians who don't need their help. People fall in love with people who won't give them the time of day. It's a strange law of human behavior. It's pretty universal. If you set up your business like you don't need the money, people are happier to pay you. When someone's doing something for the money, people can sense it like a desperate lover. It's a turnoff. When someone's doing something for love, being generous instead of stingy, trusting instead of fearful, it triggers this law. We want to give to those who give. It's another Tao of business. Set up your business like you don't need the money, and it'll likely come your way.